probably the most popular type in all of Pokemon. Like, ask any 10-year-old Pokemon fan what their favorite Pokemon is, and there's at least a 90% chance they're gonna say Charizard. Or maybe that's just what Game Freak wants us to think. Anyway, doesn't matter, fire is awesome. And because fire is so awesome, today I decided to try to catch as many fire types as I can to become the strongest fire type gym leader Paldea has ever seen. I'm gonna climb up the ranks starting from nothing, building the most elite team of fire type Pokemon until I can defeat the strongest trainers in the world and open my very own gym. Will I burn my opponents to a crisp, or will this challenge be too hot for me to handle? Let's find out. We begin the game and grab our starter Fuecoco, who we nicknamed Blaze because it sounded edgy and cool in my head, and also because I've been absolutely addicted to Minecraft recently. Our spicy boy immediately wipes the floor with Nemona's ridiculous grass type, then after grinding some XP with our fire alligator boy, we stumble on a tree nearby. And before we even get to Miraidon, we already secure the next member of Team Fuego, Fletchling. You may be screaming at your monitors now because Fletchling isn't a fire type, but you'd actually be incorrect because Fletchling evolves into Fletchinder, which makes this a totally legal play. But unfortunately, we couldn't use our newly named Flare until it evolved, so Blaze was gonna have to carry for the time being. After rescuing a beached whale and beating up a college professor's son, we make our way to school where we're stopped by Nemona. Normally I'd just skip over this fight, but this time Nemona was not playing around. Her Sprigatito was the easy part, but for some reason it took forever to get past her Palmy. But after 7 tries and a lucky damage roll, the victory is ours and we're able to make it to class on time. After getting our liberal arts degree, we're finally let out into the real world where I continue the fire type hunt with none other than Houndour. I didn't want to fight the first gym leader with only one usable Pokemon, so getting another fire boy seemed like the right call. So we make our journey over to the Inlet Grotto where in no time at all we find ourselves a fire doggy. After a successful catch, I nickname our newest canine friend Flame, and with this new catch we are officially ready for Katie and her gross bug types. Now technically we reset on our first attempt because it was raining, fire and water don't exactly mix, so I wasn't even gonna try here. But lucky for me, the sky was clear on my second attempt, so the real fight started here. After one-shotting Nimble with Houndour and decimating Tarantula with the burning flames of the underworld, we make it to Katie's ace. And after getting a taste of my own medicine, I just reset. Honestly, Katie was not budging at all here. I just kept dying to Teddiursa's Fury Cutter. The thing about this move is that the more it's used in succession, the more damage it does. So the only thing I could really do other than maybe grinding some more levels was just pray to God I'd get an attempt where Fury Cutter would miss and reset the damage boost. And eventually we get a run going where Blaze dodges the attack like a god, then burning Teddiursa to a crisp. After our first major dub, I went to get another fire boy, and this time I thought I'd go for Litleo. But I could not for the life of me get one because my luck was hot garbage. So reluctantly, I took to the internet once again to find a replacement fire boy, and eventually I swapped my hunt to Growlithe. But not before I stumbled upon a different fire type. Well, kinda. You see, just like Fletchling, Caspakid's evolved form is also a fire type, so just for fun, I added him to my roster. Maybe he'd be useful later, but he wasn't part of the original plan, so I don't know. But anyway, after Blaze evolved into Crocalor, I find Fire Dog number 2 loitering in the back of an alleyway. After another successful catch, we keep the fire theme and name our boy Ember. And with 5 Pokemon in my name, I decide it's time to start the Path of Titans. So I drive down to South Province Area 3 to make myself some crab barbecue. But Cloth was being super lame and not taking any damage from Blaze's embers, so I swapped to Flame, but he's left with no HP after the swap. So with only one fire type left to my name, I try out Growlithe, and you can probably imagine how that went. Cloth was just not cooperating here, so all I could really do was pray to get some lucky RNG, which of course, after a few tries, we managed to get. We land some really good burns with Blaze, which allows us to get through the giant crab and secure our next W. We may have got through the first Titan Pokemon fine, but my heart was still set on getting a Litleo, so I went off script a bit and tried to find one. But my game was just not having it today, so with my disappointment immeasurable and my day ruined, ruined, I settle for a Charcadet instead, naming him Inferno. While on my way EV grinding for Brassius, I pick up another Pokemon. This time it was an Oricorio, so I name it Phoenix. And after finally evolving our Flare to a Fletchinder, we had 7 Pokemon in our collection, 6 of which were fire types. The only downside to all this is that Blaze was over-leveled for Brassius, so I did have to put him in the box. But with 5 Pokemon making up Team Flaming Hot Cheeto Daddy Q, we challenge our next gym leader. Brassius was an interesting case because he wasn't as hard as Katie, but Sudowoodo's Rock Throw could one-shot pretty much every single one of our Pokemon, which was really annoying. I thought Fire was supposed to be good against Wood. What is the deal here? Took me a little while, but eventually we managed to get through the shiny tree with Ember, earning us our second gym badge. With Mr. Artsy Fartsy taken down a peg, I go over to climb Mount Everest so I can fight the next Titan Pokemon. Unfortunately, before we got there, I got a little distracted because I realized I was pretty close to a couple EVs and Flareon was on my team bucket list, so it's sandwich time. Wait, where's my sandwich? Apparently the textures weren't showing, so I just ended up dropping the ingredients on the ground. Oh yeah, nice, delicious dirt sandwich. Anyway, with the spawn rates boosted, we catch ourselves an Eevee, which I name after the god of fire, Agni. Also, while EV training, I pick up a female Salandit in a cave nearby, so at this point we were basically balling. Now finally we go back on course and go to fight the next boss, for real this time. To make things a little spicy, I start the battle with Phoenix to have a little bird battle. Phoenix was able to lower Bombardier's attack with Feather Dance, and after a couple Thunder Fangs from Ember, we get through Phase 1. For Phase 2, the strat was pretty much the same, only this time we'd use Crocalor to finish the job. Nice. With 2 gym leaders down and 2 Titans down, I continue the spicy boy hunt with a Numel. Lucky for me, there were a couple spawned close by, so I didn't even have to use a sandwich. After naming our newest Camel Boy Eruption, I set my sights on the first member of Team Star, Hakamo. After almost losing our Fletchinder to his Pawniard, we get to Revavroom, but even with the combined strength of our entire roster, we can only manage to scratch it. Frustrated, I had to reset here. I needed a much better strategy, so I decided to get the U-turn TM, which would be super effective against Hakamo's dark types. The only bad thing is that in order to get it, I had to do the Miraidon backwards wall jump glitch, which would normally not be a problem, but Pokemon recently patched this exploit, so this was gonna be rough. Eventually though, I'm able to channel my inner rock climber and pull off a near impossible climb by the skin of my teeth. And after teaching U-turn to my boy Flare, I go back to the dark type base to fight Mr. DJ. This time around it was totally different. U-turn was absolutely carrying me, and after only 2 tries, we made it through Guacamole. Technically, my next fight was Iono, but before I'd be ready to fight another gym battle, I thought it'd be best to get a few Firestones, so before I battled her, I went a little past Levincia to get a free one that spawned on the map, and on my way through the desert, I find a Roly-Coly who was barely under the level cap, so just for fun, I grab him and name him Ash. After Ash Ketchum evolves with some rare candies I picked up off the side of the road, I get a couple Firestones and evolve both Ember and Caspakid, finally unlocking them for our run. Now that I actually had good faith in my chances against the Pokimane wannabe, I make my way over to the gym test, burn the competition alive with my Jalapeno Pepper, and finally make it to the gym leader herself. Originally, I wanted to use Ash's Smackdown because it's crazy good against Iono's first Pokemon, but I'm actually a doofus and overleveled him earlier, so he was banned from this fight. But regardless, I was still holding my own. I opened with Fletchinder, which was a little scary because he's weak to electric types, but we get the upper hand and manage to set up Sun to boost our fire type attacks, so it's all good. We blast our way through the bulk of Iono's team and eventually get to her ace, Mismagius. We weaken it with the Scovillain that I actually forgot to nickname, just noticed that, okay, sorry, and end the battle with a crit from my own ace, Crocalor. After that well-fought battle, Flame evolves into a Houndoom, and now that we had 3 gym leaders under our belt, we could actually buy Firestones, which was huge. So with the power of another Flaming Rock, we unlock our next Fire Boy, Flareon. After that intense battle, I wanted to chill out for a bit, so from here I just farmed some XP, making sure my roster was at the level cap. It was pretty chill, honestly. Anyway, after those gains, I was ready for the ultimate fire user 1v1. the Mela Team Star battle. I was using a team of Numel, Houndoom, and Karkle, cause they should be able to do some great damage against fire types with their rock and ground type moves. We move into the battle and I kick it off with Fire Dog. We get through Mela's spicy little turtle in 2 seconds, and it was even nice enough to set up the sun for us. From here, a Mudshot surprisingly shreds through Mela's parade float, and we take the dub in our easiest battle yet. Looks like we know who's the hottest person in town now. Haha! With Team Star seeing stars because I freaking rolled them, I advanced towards the next boss, Earthworm. This was gonna be a really tough fight, harder than any boss in the entire game. And just kidding, I'm totally lying to you because we can just spam literally any fire type move and beat this thing. Easy. And to celebrate another victory, I grab another fire-type Pokemon and name our newest Larvesta after the god of the sun, Helios. At this point, there was a little bump coming up. The tricky thing was, this little bump was actually a pretty big bump, and I'm not talking about his stomach. The next gym leader was Kofu, who specializes in water-type Pokemon, and as you're probably aware, water and fire don't exactly mix. And being that the whole point of this challenge is that I'm a fire guy, I had to think about how I wanted to approach this and be very careful. After doing some research, the plan was that I would set up a Sunny Day, start out with a few weaker Pokemon, then use Sunny Day again with Scovillain when it got to Kofu's ace. And I say was because that's not what happened at all. Turns out all I needed to do was spam Bullet Seed and completely sweep the battle with 1 hit point, by the way. Easy. And with that victory, we've proved once and for all that actually fire is strong against water, and you all are silly for thinking otherwise. Anyway, at this point, I had already wasted enough time doing quadratic equations with my damage calculator, and so I thought I'd catch another Pokemon like you're supposed to do when you play these games, because you're supposed to play them for fun. You're not supposed to do math all the time and just be all in your calculations like a big freaking nerd. So I set off and eventually I came across a Torkoal, which I registered in my Pokedex and nicknamed Ignite. Look, I'm running out of fire words, okay? Anyway, at this point, I was back to the EV grind, making sure every member of Team Flaming Fire Burning Daddy Q was at the level cap. After giving some broken dishes to a nice old lady, we evolve Inferno into a Cerulege, and both Hanabi and Eruption evolved as soon as they hit level 33. We were pretty geared up now, so I thought I was ready for Atticus, the next Team Star base. Overthinking was kind of an issue for me lately, so this time I just jump in with no plan at all. I hadn't used Eruption much before this point, so I decide to let my Camo Boy take the lead. Atticus's Skuntank manages to poison me, but I don't care because Earth Power takes him out in 1 blow. After Earth Power also one-hit KOs Baby Revavroom, we swap to Flame the Fire Dog and get to the Starmobile. Eventually Clifford gets too low, so we swap in Ash, and honestly, this part of the battle is where it got really boring. We were both so tanky, neither of us could do any real damage, so we just kind of went back and forth slapping each other with wet noodles. But after the most painful 1v1 of my life, Fire Daddy Q reigns supreme and we were off to fight my favorite character. But first, it's evolution time, baby! During my anime training arc, Flare evolves into a Talonflame and my ace Blaze evolves into Skeledirge. And with most of my lineup now fully evolved, it's Larry time, baby! So we get a quick bite to eat at my favorite ramen shop, nailing the gym test and challenge the big man himself. I had an advantage right off the bat here because Larry couldn't hit Blaze or Inferno with his normal type moves, but I opt to go for Scovillain here because his ability Insomnia makes him immune to Kamala's Yawn. After Bullet Seed completely annihilates Kamala and Dunsparce, we make it to his ace Staraptor. Honestly, we were so strong at this point that even his terastallized ace wasn't much of a problem, and honestly, the same could be said for a certain rival of mine. After the Larry fight, we were cornered by Nemona and Geeta and forced into a battle in front of the champion. But lucky for me, this one wasn't too bad either. We may have lost a few friends along the way, but Blaze is still the GOAT and secures us our next W. Also, right after the battle, we get another evolution. Ash transformed into Colossal, adding another fully evolved Pokemon to my fire arsenal. Nice. With 5 gym leaders burned by my Raging Inferno, I decide to keep the streak going and hit up Rhyme for the next fight. So I make my way up the mountain and say hi to my favorite friend, Charles White. Okay, look, I know in every one of my videos I make that joke, but he looks like Critical, okay? Look at him! Anyway, we make it past the 9-year-old gym trainer and his soccer mom like it's nothing before getting to Penguin Zero himself. After taking the dubski against Big Moist, we finally make it to Rhyme. But even before the battle, there was already a huge problem. You see, there was a snowstorm happening in the area, and while that was active, I couldn't set up Sunny Day. So I wouldn't get any buffs to my fire type attacks for this whole gym battle. But nonetheless, I still had to get through this battle to continue the run, so I didn't have much of a choice here. I choose Blaze and Ignite for my tag team, then pray to Arceus that this battle goes well. And it's a good thing I did, because we start off the battle by one-shotting Banette. After a couple Shadow Balls, we knock out our Mimikyu and Houndstone, but Rhyme takes a heavy toll on us because she's able to knock out Skeledirge. To replace him, I swap in Inferno. Then after Rhyme's ace dives into a vat of glitter, we attack it with Ceruledge and freaking drop kick him almost instantly. After suffering the ultimate humiliation of having her ace one-shot, Rhyme admits defeat and the 6th gym badge is ours. Rhyme didn't stand a ghost of a chance, but I couldn't rest because the fires inside me still hungered for more blood. And by that I mean we're just going to the desert to fight another Titan. To be honest, this battle wasn't anything special. I passed the baton to Flare, and he basically just flame charged Mr. Chrome Dome. We did the same thing with Arven during Phase 2, and pretty soon the penultimate Titan boy fell to the raging inferno of doom and despair! Anyway, so after my Edgelord arc, we dropped by Tulip's place to defeat the Psychic Gym Leader, but we were stopped by our stupid rival instead. Whatever, I'll just get through this fight and oh my god! No! My worst fears were being realized. At this point, Nemona could easily one-shot any of our Pokemon. I try the fight again, but to my absolute shock and horror, she obliterates Blaze with a single attack. I try to counter with Flame, but he gets one-shot too. Oh, no. On my 3rd attempt, I switch to the giant rock golem of death. He takes a lot of damage, but I'm not complaining. He survived. But despite my best efforts, I still can't get past that stupid dog. Finally though, I'm able to get a run going where I knock him out with an Earth Power. Nice. So after we bulldoze Sliggoo and Palma with Ember, we finish off Nemona's ace with our Skeledirge and take the most earned victory in Pokemon history. Alright, back to the main story. It's Tulip time, baby, so I send out my Fire Turtle against her Giraffe, and we're able to take it down pretty easily. Next up was Gardevoir, who gets shanked by our Inferno boy. With 2 Pokemon down, his Pather was out next. Shadow Ball cuts my health in half, but I couldn't care less because we're able to one-shot this turkey. And not too long after that, Florges falls to the power of Team Fire Daddy Q. From here, we say a quick hello to Rika and Poppy and move on to the final gym leader of the game, Grusha and the Ice Boys. For Grusha, the only thing I was worried about was fighting him in a snowstorm, because not much else could help the Ice Lord against our fiery boys. Ignite easily burns through Frostmoth and Beartic. Although we lose Inferno, we get to Titan as we pass the baton to Flame and Blaze. After taking out the big round boy, we obliterate Altaria with the Torch Song, earning us the last gym badge of the entire game. But I can't rest yet, because even though the gym leaders were out of the picture, I had to tie up a few loose ends with Team Star and the Titans. So after making another sandwich, I grinded for some EVs for our squad. I really did not want to be under-leveled here because the Team Star Revavooms are a freaking menace. And also Ortega's Azumarill and Darkspun counter my entire roster. Azumarill is a water type, which is pretty self-explanatory, but Darkspun on the other hand has the ability Well-Baked Body, which makes him completely immune to fire type moves. So I grinded until everyone was level 50 and started my attempts against the Little Lord Ortega. Because Scovillain had Bullet Seed, I decided to let it take the lead against Azumarill. We breezed through the water type in a single turn, and Ortega's Wigglytuff gets KO'd after another 2. I forgot to mention this before, but I put a loaded dice on Scovillain earlier, which turned out to be extremely OP because it allowed us to hit 4 to 5 times on every Bullet Seed. But as soon as we get to Darkspun, Scovillain gets knocked out. So we switch to Hot Turtle to take it out, which brings us to Ortega's Revavroom. At this point, we're so low that we're forced to swap to Hanabi, and turns out this was a big brain play because Poison Fang was amazing against Ortega's Starmobile. And after taking 2,000 pounds of steel to the face, we end the fight with the Fuego Daddy Cute victory. With one more boss down, I prepare myself for the last 2 fights before the Elite Four. We just had Eri and Tatsugiri left, so I made sure my team was at level cap again for the endgame. I thought it would be rude to utterly destroy 2 Team Star bases back to back, so I went fishing for the False Dragon Titan next. After we lose both Agni and Flare, we paralyze the big fish guy with Ignite and get through Phase 1. Phase 2 was a little harder though. Body Slam was the only move I had that could really do much damage to this big fish, and Water Pulse was absolutely destroying us. After all, Volcano Turtle almost carries the fight on his own, leaving Dondozo at half a hit point. We swap back to a freshly healed Flare and deliver the finishing blow. But life is cruel, and Pokemon Violet decides to make the only Titan with 3 phases a water type, so I still had my work cut out for me. Ignite finally faints, so I give Ember a shot, and Play Rough bulldozes through the False Dragon. Then after Arven's Greedent leaves Tatsugiri on literally 3 pixels of health, how does this keep happening? We defeat the last Titan with our Fire Dog. With every Titan and Gym Leader defeated, I set my sights on clearing out the rest of Team Star, so I go on to fight Eri. But even before we begin the fight, I'm at a disadvantage because it randomly started raining. If you didn't know, rain cuts the attacking power of any fire type move in half, so this fight was gonna be rough. After Ember gets his butt handed to him by Toxicroak, I swap to Flare. Luckily, we sweep through Toxicroak on the next turn, but we're already on half health, which is not a great start. And just as I was getting my hopes up with Flare's acrobatics shredding Eri, Flare gets one-hit KO'd, so we're back to Ember. I try my best against Eri's Annihilate next, but she was putting up a hell of a fight here. Maybe Phoenix can do some work? Okay, nice. After I send out my ace against Lucario, I noticed the rain stopped, meaning I was back at full power. So I Torch Song Lucario, putting us on about the same HP, but next turn we're forced onto our 4th Pokemon. This was getting really close. After knocking out Lucario, we're on to Eri's Lawnmower, but I can't manage to damage her at all. Phoenix was getting some chip damage, but I was more concerned that Eri was setting up to one-shot us with Shift Gear. Come on, please! Oh my god, Phoenix, you beautiful creature! The power of friendship prevails, and Phoenix toughed it out so I wouldn't feel sad. And finally, we put Revavroom on its last bits of HP. All we needed now was one good attack, and we'd take home a victory. But the same could be said for Eri because of her whole boosted stat situation. Alright, time to send out my final Pokemon, Scovillain. Alright, Eri, let's see who's stronger, me or you? I guess it was you. Anyway, after that fight, I knew I had the power to beat Eri. We just got really screwed over by the rain. So I go to challenge her again, this time after the rain stopped. And now that we weren't handicapped, we used everything we had to get through Eri's entire roster. It still wasn't an easy battle by any means, but the rain debuff not being here anymore was a game changer. And on my 3rd try, we defeat the final Team Star leader and prepare for our last opponents, the Elite Four and Champion Geeta. So I do some more last-minute leveling, making sure everyone was maxed out for the ultimate battle ahead of us. And finally, I got to a point where I thought I was ready. It's gamer time, baby! Alright, Daddy Q versus Rika. I start out with Scovillain against Whiscash. Bullet Seed hasn't failed me yet, so... Alright, very nice. Whiscash down. Naturally, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I do the same thing against Donphan, but we don't get a 5th attack because loaded dice sucks. We immediately get one shot on the next turn, but I finish the elephant off with Phoenix, so we're even. I try my giant Colrock Demon against Dugtrio, but the next turn I get David and Goliath, so I guess I'll swap to Flare? Turns out that was the right call because we're able to one-shot Dugtrio and Camera Up and get to Rika's ace. This was when I started to get a little scared. You see, Clodsire has Liquidation, which if you couldn't tell, is a water move. But also, this funny little guy has an insane base HP stat, and it's a terrifying thought that I could potentially be destroyed by a derpy little dude. I try to use acrobatics a bunch, but Rika keeps protecting, so I can barely do anything. Unfortunately, Flare gets hit by a liquidation and gets poisoned on top of that, so we have to swap to a different Pokemon. But the good news was that we still had 3 Mons left, so we're able to finish off Rika with Phoenix and secure our first win. Nice. Next up was Poppy, and hopefully she'd be a little bit easier than Rika. I lead with Ignite against her Caparajah and set up Sun for my next attack. High horsepower deals a lot, but I do even more. But unfortunately, we lose our lava turtle the next turn. Good thing is that we still had the giant rock monster, so we make it through Copperajah, dealing some good DPS against Bronzong. Next up is my ace, and we get the first attack in, so it's on to Corviknight, who gets turned into KFC. After burning Magnezone alive, we meet Poppy's ace Pokemon. The giant Hammer Bunny tries to one-shot us with a Stone Edge, but I'm just better at the game, so we survive at half HP. After one last Torch Song, we make it past Poppy, and half of the Elite Four is defeated. Our third opponent was the big man Larry, so I use Flame to start us off. For some reason, Tropius sets up his own Sunny Day, not remembering that I'm literally a fire-type gym leader, even though we've fought before. Do I mean nothing to you, Larry? Whatever. He's dumb, so I'm getting a buff here. One Fire Fang later, and Larry's first Pokemon gets wrecked. Next up was Staraptor, and I had to be careful because it's really fast and its stab moves are really strong. Flame takes the L next turn, so it's Blaze's time. And Staraptor gets one shot like it's nothing. Then after Larry's Altaria Death Star laser beams our ace, we switch to Ember. I was kinda concerned about Oricorio's speed, but we're pretty fast ourselves, and soon we were facing everyone's favorite lawn ornament. But you know what they say about lawns? It's only a matter of time before you gotta mow them. So we tank Flamigo's Brave Bird with the power of friendship and finish it off with Flare. And ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we just had one more opponent before Geeta. Hassel. I send out Ash against his Noivern. We almost managed to kill Hassel's first Pokemon, but we're forced to switch to Flare. After a quick U-turn, we're back to Blaze, but he faints too. So with 2 Pokemon down already, I go with Ember, who finishes the job. But he faints too? So I swap to Phoenix, who clutches out Dragalge at 17 hit points. After Phoenix dies to Flapple, we're left with 2 Pokemon, but I believed in myself. So after taking out Flapple, we're up against Baxcalibur, Hassel's ace. But I immediately got a reality check and watched in horror as the scary Dragon Man chops my bird in half. This was not looking too good. We just had Inferno left to 1v1 the strongest Pokemon we've seen yet, so I was pretty scared. I tried to get off an attack, but he's just too fast. I get headbutted by Baxcalibur and Inferno faints, losing us the battle. Well, guess I'll try that again. Take 2. I tried to use a similar pattern, but when Phoenix died to Dragalge, I'd switch to Inferno, so I'd have Ember against his ace. Through the power of friendship, Ember toughs it out and squeaks by at 1 HP. And we almost one-shot this menace with the Play Rough. The next turn, he uses Glaive Rush like before, so we're down to Flare, the last Pokemon in our arsenal. And I knew he was faster than Baxcalibur, so we win. This was it. With all the Elite Four members gone, all that stood in my way of becoming a true gym leader was Geeta herself, the strongest trainer in the region. I took a deep breath as I faced the final boss and prepared for the toughest fight yet. At least that's what I would say, but instead, this champion made some questionable decisions here. We'll get to that. But first, we use a Shadow Ball against his Pathra, then switch to Ignite, so I could set up some shenanigans later with the Sun. We end up losing our Teenage Mutant Fire Tortoise, which means we're back to Blaze, who finishes off his Pathra with another one of my balls. And as soon as we get to Avalugg, we one-shot it with a Torch Song because he's hella slow and weak to fire attacks. The same could be said for Kingambit, who feels the fiery wrath of 1,000 suns against my fire alligator. I couldn't use Torch Song again though because I was out of PP, so as soon as I try to use Shadow Ball against Veluza, I get shanked. We still had 4 Pokemon though, so I use Ember after another U-turn from Phoenix. But somehow Geeta starts making a comeback, taking out Ember with Veluza. Oh no. Somehow I land a quick attack with Flare and the burn damage kills the fish, but we're still pretty low with Flare, so it could go either way at this point. And then somehow on the next turn, Mr. Goatman lives on 1 HP for some reason and Flare dies. So that's cool. But that means it's Phoenix time and Icy Wind puts us at Geeta's ace. As I face the strongest Pokemon in the region, I got a bit nostalgic here, honestly. All our Fire Boys had been through so much, and our dream was right in front of us. So I got back on my feet and faced the final obstacle. Sludge Wave may be strong, but I kept going. And before I knew it, Geeta unleashed a Terra Blast that left me on my last Pokemon. That's right, baby! It's Scovillain time! With my real ace on the board, I channeled everything into my Bullet Seed, a move so busted that it was sure to decimate the strongest trainer in existence. What? What? What I meant to say was, get Bullet Seeded! Come on, man! Well, whatever. I couldn't kill Gita with Scovillain, but this was my third attempt, and I still had Flare at this point. So I'm a little embarrassed to say it, but the final attack was literally a U-turn. You know, I was expecting something more glamorous for the final attack of the challenge, but anyway, that's enough complaining. After the battle, Gita congratulated me on my victory, and my great dream of becoming a fire gym leader was finally a reality. If you like this video, you should check out this other playthrough I did where I become a shiny-only gym leader in Pokemon Sword. But anyway, that's all for me. Thanks for watching. Till next time.